Hello, SBI TV subscribers. My name is Greg Alexander, and I'm the CEO of SBI, a sales and marketing consulting firm dedicated to helping you make your number. You are watching SBI TV from our beautiful on-location set today. This is a monthly web TV show featuring guests just like you, executives trying to grow their revenues. By tuning in each month, you can peek behind the scenes and watch your peers discuss their strategies for making their numbers. On today's show, I am joined by two fantastic guests. I have Paul Rosen and Aaron Stead. Paul is a Chief Sales Officer at OnDeck Capital, which provides small business owners access to capital. And Aaron is a Senior Vice President of Sales at Infusionsoft, which helps small business owners grow their companies by providing sales and marketing software applications. Get this, Paul's company went from zero to almost 200 million in sales in less than a decade, and Aaron's company went from about 10 million to 100 million in a little over 5 years. So these two cats know how to make their number. So guys, welcome to the show.
Welcome, thanks for having us.
All right, we ready to go?
Good to see you.
All right, so today I'm gonna ask both of you fellas to help your peers make their 2016 number by selling successfully into the small business segment. Many of the people that are watching this show are going after that segment because they see growth there, and both of you are experts at this. To do this, we're going to use SBI's Revenue Growth Strategy Workbook, okay, titled How to Make Your Number in 2016. If you at home want a copy of this workbook, go to salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016 report. And if you want to have somebody from SBI teach you how to use it, sign up for our workshop, and you can do so, salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016 workshop. Okay, so let's go, right? All right, so our firm's point of view is that there's 6 steps to a revenue growth strategy. So today's show is only about 30 minutes, and I'm gonna ask you guys to apply these 6 steps specifically to the small business segment. Some people call it small business, some people call it SMB, name it, it's outside of the enterprise, okay? If you wanna understand the other 6 steps in detail to the viewers here, tune into other episodes of SBI TV where your peers will demo each one of those steps for you. But today we're laser focused on the small business segment. So let's start with step 1, which is understanding the market, okay? So my first question, Aaron, is for you. So for the audience at home watching this, describe the small business owner to this audience.
Your point's a great one. There's a lot of confusion in the market of what is small business. The Small Business Association defines it as anything under 500 employees. The SMB space is 1 employee all the way up to 5,000 employees. At Infusionsoft, we believe that an under 100 employee business is a true small business. And after 100 employees, it starts to look more mature like an SMB space. So what is the small business owner? Who is the small business owner? It's you, Greg, at SBI. And it's a person who is the janitor, the marketer, the sales rep, the business owner, the CFO who needs to go find and access capital. And there's always a competition for the small business owner time. And the small business owner's life is their business, and their business is their life.
Yep. Okay, great. So good description of what a small business owner is. Paul, let me ask you, how many of these small businesses are there?
Well, it depends how you define a small business. Technically, there's 26 to 28 small businesses out there that are registered. If you look at small businesses that have at least 1 employee, and in my mind, by having an employee, it's not a hobby. It's an actual lifestyle. It's an actual business. That number is closer to around 7 million. So it's still a huge opportunity.
Okay, so we got 7 million of these folks to go after with a variety of different products and services. So Aaron, you've been serving this market for a long time here at Infusionsoft and even at previous stops in your career. What's the growth rate of this market segment?
So today there's approximately 500,000 new small businesses created every month.
Every month?
Every month. Unfortunately, only 20% of those will survive and get past the hobby and hire their first employee. So the segment in and of itself isn't growing that quickly because 20% of the 500,000 are going to make it and sustain over the long term.
And let me ask you a question. The needs of this market segment, are very different than if I was selling to the enterprise segment, call it the Global 2000, or even the mid-market segment, which are large companies aspiring to be in the Global 2000. The needs of this segment are very different. So for the audience, describe how it is different.
Well, if you're a small business owner, similar to what Aaron said, it's your life. You're working 60, 80, 100 hours a week, and generally somebody starts a small business either because they're really passionate about something, they're really good at something, or they see a big market need for it and they think that they can fill it. So when you look at a small business owner, they should just focus on, and they only want to focus on their core competency. They want to be really, really good at the problem they're trying to solve, and they want to get rid of everything else. So when you're targeting this segment, you need something that is simple, easy, and allows them to focus on their core competency.
Okay, so keep it basic, make their life easier. Whatever you're selling to them, it has to be very clear. And the goal there is allow them to be a small business owner, not have to do all these other things.
Exactly.
All right, great. This is probably a good time for a break. We're going to go to a short break here for the audience, but when we come back, Paul and Aaron are going to tell you how to compete in the small business segment, and most importantly, how to make your number in this segment. So stick around after the break.
This is not a table. It is a stage where your performance is measured in numbers. If you reach them, you get an encore. If you don't, it could be curtains. That's why you need the well-rehearsed, proven sales and marketing strategies of SBI.
Welcome back. You're watching SBI TV. I am Greg Alexander of SBI. That is Paul Rosen, head of sales at OnDeck Capital. And that good-looking fellow over there is Aaron Stead. He's the head of sales at Infusionsoft. Today, we're trying to help you make your 2016 number by demonstrating how to make your number in the small business segment. And these two guys are experts at that. We are using SBI's 6-step revenue growth methodology in the companion workbook to guide our conversation. Before the break, we reviewed the first step. In this segment, we're going to turn our attention to steps 2, 3, and 4. So let's jump into it, all right? So if you're going to go after this space, if you think about it, put your CEO hat on for a moment and think about corporate strategy. There's some big questions that you have to ask when you're thinking about going after the small business segment, particularly in how you compete. So let's turn to you. So who do you compete with?
We compete, number one, with the small business owner's time and their capacity to implement sales and marketing strategies. Most of our customers come from point solutions like an email marketing solution or a CRM solution or a shopping cart technology, and none of them talk to one another. And that's the multi-system chaos challenge of a small business owner. You can go get very inexpensive one-off tools, but none of them talk to each other. And a small business owner becomes a victim of their own success trying to implement disparate tools.
So you compete with your customers?
We compete with our customers' mindset, absolutely.
So getting mind share, getting them to pay attention to sales and marketing application software.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Paul, let me turn to you in terms of the subject of competition, which is our second step here, right? Broadly speaking, the academic theory says this. You can either compete on price, you can compete on product, or you can compete on the experience of the customer. So at OnDeck, how do you guys compete?
We're very much a customer intimacy focus where we're very, very high touch for our space. We believe that we offer the best customer experience. If you look at it kind of like a college major and minor, our major would be customer intimacy. If we had a minor, it would be product. I think in order to compete with the small business segment with price and be the low-cost provider, you have to be very, very low touch, I think, in terms of sales and in terms of service.
Okay, now why did you pick customer intimacy as your form of competitive differentiation? Because some people watching this might say, I'm selling to the small business owner, I better be cheap. But you decided not to do that. You decided to provide an exceptional experience. How come?
Well, I think customer intimacy is probably the most sustainable. Like if you have a low input of cost, other people can copy that. If you have a great product, other people can copy your product. I think the customer experience is out of the three the most difficult to copy, and I think the most long-term sustainable.
All right, so let's go to product, okay? So the engineering team has to develop a product that is attractive to that small business segment, correct? And it can't be over-engineered, because you were talking about make it easy, keep it simple. You're competing for mind share. If there's a huge learning curve, I'm not going to buy it, right? So what attributes do the products have to be attractive to the small business?
Well, knowing that a business owner is working 80 to 100 hours a week, and knowing that they don't like talking with salespeople and they don't like spending a lot of time, and it's not that they don't like it, they just don't have a whole lot of bandwidth. They don't have layers and departments. The product has to be simple, it has to be easy, and in terms of evaluating the value or benefit of it, you don't have to be a CPA or an MBA to figure out the benefit. It's got to be simple and clear cut.
All right, so let me put you on the spot. Give me the value prop of OnDeck right now.
We are the fastest, simplest, and easiest way for a small business to get funding.
Perfect. That was a great value proposition. So let's talk about pricing. So the small business owner is spending his own money. He's not spending some investment money from some giant corporation. So when you price it, you're competing with not only the mind share and the time of that small business owner, but I can buy your software, I can take my family on a great vacation. So how do you price your product?
It's a great question. The thing to focus on if you're out there wanting to serve the small business is the time to value. If you think about a mid-market business or an enterprise business, they may have a year, 18 months, 2 years before a project needs to pay off for them. A small business owner's time to value needs to be tomorrow. And that's how they will make a decision, is if I can bring value into the business this week, this month, this quarter, then I'm willing to pay for it. I'm willing to pay for that exchange, because just as it comes out of my pocket, any profits coming back in go right back in my pocket.
So time to value, stay laser focused on that. And as I understand your business, you've taken the cost of the solution and broke it down into a monthly subscription fee.
Correct.
So from a cash flow standpoint, which is very important for a small business owner, I can digest that, correct?
Absolutely. We think about staying lower than a car payment.
Staying lower than a car payment. That's a great answer. All right, I'm going to come back to you, Paul. Let's talk about value prop, right? So I asked you earlier, put you on the spot to give me your value prop. You gave it to me. Give it to me one more time.
We are the fastest, simplest, and easiest way for a small business to have access to capital.
Okay, so that's a great value prop, right? So we have a lot of these companies that might be big companies that sell to the enterprise, that sell to the mid-market. Now they're trying to sell to the small business. And they're taking this, academic PhD level value proposition messaging, and they're going blah onto the small business owner. And it's like, I don't want to hear it. You guys have simplified your value prop that you give it to me just like that off the top of your head. How did you come up with that value prop messaging?
Well, in our research, there's really 3 pain points for small businesses when it comes to getting capital. First is access, because traditional banks say no a whole lot more than they say yes. And the second is speed. Even if a bank is going to say yes, it may take you 2 months to get a loan. And third is time and simplicity. If you go to a bank, so assuming you can wait 8 weeks and assuming the bank's going to say yes, you need copies of annual returns, you need business plans, you need to pitch it. So our solution was to solve all 3. And where our business has dynamically changed really over the last year or two is that we came up with the name OnDeck because it was, hey, go to your bank first. And when your bank says no, hey, we're on deck, we're here, kind of like the batter up, baseball theme. Where our business has changed is we actually now have customers that can go to a bank and are bankable, but the value proposition of speed and simplicity is more important than anything else to them. So they're willing to pay a premium for that.
Okay, awesome. So you came up with it because you really studied the wants, the needs, the desires of that small business owner, to the point where you even came up with the name, which is great. And it's a great lead into what I want to talk about next, Aaron, which is branding. Okay, so far we've covered step 1, which is understanding the market. We've studied corporate strategies. Should I compete on product, price, or customer experience? We've talked about product and what type of product is successful in the small business. We're now going to go to marketing. So let's talk about branding. So what brand attributes does a company and the product have to have in order to resonate with the small business owner?
Number one, it has to connect with the small business owner. Your messaging and your brand has to convey you understand and can empathize with what a small business owner is going through every day. too often you see the mid-market and enterprise companies trying to come down to serve the small business market, and they don't tweak any of their experience. And so it feels to a small business owner like a brand that's connected to a 1,000-person organization versus a 10-employee company like me. So that's number one, is the connectedness to their experience. Number two is care. Paul mentioned this at the beginning. There's 22 to 26 million small businesses in the U.S. alone. So it's a huge market opportunity, and there are a lot of companies out there that see it. And what happens to the small business owners, they're getting peppered with sales inquiries left and right from the market. And they're taken advantage of in a lot of ways. And as a brand, if you can connect to the care and the heart of the small business owner, you've got an opportunity there. And lastly, I'll say at Infusionsoft, we focus on hiring former small business owners. 65% of our current organization either owns a small business or has owned a small business in the past.
Wow. So what's the brand promise of Infusionsoft?
The easiest way to grow sales and save time.
Wow. So you're connecting emotionally. That's an emotional statement. The easiest way, not the best way, the most sophisticated way, the easiest way. Awesome. All right, so we're going to stay in the marketing step, okay? Let's talk about brand awareness and lead generation. So there's, as you guys said, there's millions of these, right? So you have to be able to generate leads at scale to be successful in this business. So how do you do that at OnDeck?
I think a lot of it depends on what your marketing budget is. Believe it or not, we generate a lot of business from direct mail. In our industry is very conducive to direct mail. Most companies may not have the budget that we have. So for a lot of companies, it's really the small business owner is really influenced, really has a lot of center of influences, whether it's their accountant, whether it's their lawyer, whether it's their insurance agent. Whereas larger businesses, the larger business segment, where somebody is really focused on that segment of the business and is an expert on that business, they're going to rely on their own expertise. Whereas a small business owner is really going to trust outside centers of influence a lot more than trying to pretend like they're an expert in a specific field.
So let's stay on direct mail for a moment, right? So people that sell to enterprise, you say direct mail, they almost laugh at you. That doesn't work anymore, blah, blah, blah. I think that's crazy because I do think it works. So how many direct mail pieces do you drop a month?
I'm not sure if my marketing department is going to want to share this.
Is it in the millions?
I'll just say it's a 7-figure number.
Wow. And it's working for you?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's take another quick break. So one more short break, but stick around because when we come back, Aaron and Paul are going to answer my questions on which sales channels work best in the small business segment. So come right back after the break.
Your finish line is your number, and the only way to reach it is to make certain everyone is pulling their weight and headed in the same direction. That's why SBI uses proven techniques to bring everyone on your team on board with successful, standardized sales programs, enabling victory at the turn of every quarter.
Welcome back. You're watching SBI TV. I am Greg Alexander, CEO of SBI, and that is Paul Rosen, Head of Sales at OnDeck Capital. And over there is Aaron Stead, Head of Sales at Infusionsoft. Today we're trying to help you make your 2016 number by demonstrating how to make your number in the small business segment. We're using SBI's 6-step revenue growth methodology and the companion workbook to guide our conversation. And up to this point in our previous 2 segments, we've covered steps 1 through 4. In this segment, we're going to turn our attention to the last 2 steps, 5 and 6. All right, let's move to sales strategy, okay? So, Aaron, what is the appropriate sales channel for a company trying to sell to the small business segment?
2 things to keep in mind. One, the cost of your software is going to be lower. And so the highly talented, highly paid outside sales force doesn't generally work to sell into small business. With today's technologies available, an inside sales team works really, really well. You can do everything over the phone, via screen share. You don't have to do any face-to-face demos or be in the market necessarily to connect with small business owners. Second, small business owners have trusted advisors. So think about who the referral source is and the trusted advisors of your target small business is. It could be, Paul mentioned, a lawyer. It could be a CPA. It could be a meetup group. And small business lends itself very well to referral channels and affiliate type partner relationships.
Interesting. So you both mentioned referral sources, the people that surround that small business owner and getting introduced to that person. So is a small business owner, and I'll stay with you, Aaron, here, are they a skeptic?
100%. Yeah, 100% skeptical. Primarily due to large companies serving mid-market and enterprise businesses trying to come down in the small business space and not connecting with the small business owner at all. And trust is the key word.
Trust.
You've got to either earn the small business owner's trust directly, or you've got to go earn the trust of their trusted source.
Yeah. So I couldn't help but notice that you talked about you have to match what your typical deal size is, or in your case, the price of your software, to the sales channel, because if you have a very expensive sales channel selling an inexpensive product, you're not going to make any money. Now, when I hear that, I immediately go to sales methodology or sales process. So, Paul, let me come to you on that, right? If you think about selling to big businesses, you could have a sales methodology, a sales process that runs a sales campaign from 6 months to 12 months. It could be multi-step, multi-dimensional. It's heavy, right? But that's appropriate when you have a sales cycle length of 12 months. In the small business segment, that's a nightmare. So what does a sales process look like?
Small business owners want to make quick decisions. As we spoke about, they don't have a lot of time. So typically the sales cycle is going to be very short. In 1 or 2 calls, they're absolutely going to make a decision. And I think with business owners, you need to develop that emotional link. So in addition to the ROI, if you're going to purchase a loan, and it's going to cost $1,000 of interest, what is your return on investment going to be? And same thing with, Aaron's organization. If you're going to, purchase his marketing capabilities, what return on investment are you going to get? You also need to develop that emotional link with how is this really going to help them solve their other business problems as well. And you package and you message that all at once, compared to a larger company where you have a different message to the CTO, a different message to the CFO, a different message to the COO. With a small business owner, the message is all compact and quick and simple.
Yeah, awesome. So I would advise those watching the show, this is a huge point, and I would tell you that my experience says this is one of the number one stumbling blocks. When you go from enterprise down to small business, you try to import that legacy sales process, and it doesn't work. It's a 1 to 2 call close. You have to run the entire sales campaign on a 30-minute telephone call. All right, let's come to quotas. What type of quota can a salesperson who sells to the small business segment carry?
It's bigger than one would think. So our direct inside sales rep produces approximately $1 million of annualized bookings revenue for our company. So it's a good combination of the speed and the dollar amount that goes with a complex sale.
So that's inspiring. I mean, it's when I hear the word small business, I hear small revenue. It's not true. I mean, if you have a salesperson doing $1 million, that adds up quick when you start throwing lots of salespeople at it. Let's talk about comp. Let me come over to you. So what do you pay a salesperson who sells to the small business segment?
Well, generally, in the small business segment, most of the companies I've been associated with, you have a portion of salary and a portion of incentive. For newer salespeople, it may be 50-50. As you get experience, or if it's more of a relationship sale where you're building a book, it ends up being more heavier over a period of time. With incentive, part of it really depends on regionally. We're similar to Aaron's organization where we're all inside salespeople. So half of our team is in Denver, half is in New York. So part of the compensation is going to be based off of where people live. And then part of it is within our organization, you have different steps or levels that you can rise up to. So generally, for a very competent small business salesperson, you want to be able to give them a career path where they can earn 6 figures.
I was going to ask you, so is it above or below 6 figures? Starting, it sounds like it's below, but as you grow, you can go over to 6 figures.
Yeah, and Aaron mentioned that his average salesperson is generating $1 million of annual booking. Ours is pretty comparable to that as well. So when you have a salesperson generating that kind of revenue, figure out a system to pay them six figures.
Okay, so these are high quality jobs. Okay, fantastic. Let's come back over to you, Aaron. Hiring profile. So I would imagine that the type of person you hire who's going to sell to that, and you mentioned you hire former small business owners, is very different than what you would sell in the enterprise segment. So tell me about the hiring profile.
It's somebody who can build relationship and rapport very quickly. Somebody who has experience experience communicating via the phone. It's very different face-to-face. So for us, we think about somebody who's already had a telephone sales job, somebody who has some empathy and connectedness to the small business story, a former small business owner, parents who are small business owners, grandparents who are small business owners. And when you really extend out in that network, you think about it, for all of you out there, just go 1 or 2 levels out in your family. I guarantee you know somebody who owns a small business.
Interesting. So since you're hiring somebody that can sell effectively over the phone, because that's your sales channel, when you interview them, are you interviewing them face-to-face or are you interviewing them over the phone?
We do both.
Do you?
Yeah, we start with the phone and then we do face-to-face.
So you want to hear what they sound like on the phone?
What they sound like on the phone.
Yeah.
If they don't do well on the phone, they don't get a face-to-face opportunity.
Awesome. So Paul, I'm assuming you have a fairly similar hiring profile to that. So where do you find these people?
Well, at OnDeck, we're fortunate where we have a recruiting department, but based off of my history, always the best way to find really good salespeople is through employee referrals. Because a couple things happen. One is if somebody refers somebody, they're going to make sure they don't want to look bad. They have a career track. If they refer somebody that's poor, it's a bad reflection on them. And the individual that they're bringing in doesn't want to make their friend look bad. So we've always been very, very successful with employee referrals. But I also think that you need to be sensitive about other things that you haven't in the past. You need to create an environment where people enjoy working there, because every candidate is going to go to Glassdoor to see what other team members feel about the organization. So I think that we've always hired more for cultural fit than we have for technical fit.
All right. Well, listen, as you can see, selling into the small business segment requires a very different sales strategy. And if you are carrying a number tied to this market segment, apply what Paul and Aaron taught you today, and you're going to increase your chances of success. So Paul and Aaron, we're out of time. We try to keep these shows to 30 minutes, but I really wanted to thank you for coming on the show. You've increased the chances of our audience making their number from the small business segment. So thanks a bunch for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, great. I would also like to thank you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you enjoy this show, I suggest you subscribe to SBI TV. You can find us at salesbenchmarkindex.com/TV. Or if it's easier for you, just go to YouTube and search for Sales Benchmark Index and you'll find our channel. We have some outstanding guests, people like Aaron and Paul, confirmed for future episodes in some beautiful locations, so you're not going to want to miss this. But until then, I wish you nothing but the best of luck as you try to make your number.